So let's go on and think about asset rotation. All right, now asset rotation is slightly different, and that's a case where, in fact, what the investors are doing, what the sponsors of the project are doing, is they're actually selling off part of their flows, their equity flows, the residual flows, to another set of investors. And so let's look at a particular example here, and let's look at asset rotation. Basically, we're talking about they're going to sell off 45% of the residual in income to cash flow to asset rotation investor. They receive 45% of the residual, and they're going to invest $275 million. The sponsor retains 55% and also invests $325 million in order to do that. Okay, so what's this going to look like? And so let's start with the sponsor's equity, just to sort of as a point to start, and then we'll do the asset rotation investors. All right. So let's sort of look at that. What does that look like? Well, basically, what it means is here's the what I've done is this is what the total to the tax equity investors are. Okay. The total remainder. Okay. The total remainder after we take out total free cash flow. So if we take out free cash flow, total free cash flows minus flows to tax equity investors, what we have is what's left over, a remainder. And basically what we're going to do is that 55% of that, okay, flows to the sponsor's equity. And so just 55, this is their investment, and then 55% of the remainder is basically what they get. On the asset rotation investors, they get 45% of the remainder in return for investing $275 million. And so 45%, excuse me, so 45% here and 55% here. So we're splitting up that remainder, and this would be the cash flows. Now again, if I add up, okay, if I add up total to tax equity investors plus this, what I wind up with is exactly what the totals would be for the free cash flow. So again, I've got this stream to the tax equity investors, excuse me, the sponsors. I got this flow to the asset rotation investors, and the IRR for the tax equity is 953, and then we go over here for the asset rotation investors. They get 45% of the remainder. Okay, again, this is just remainder. This is just 45% of that. Okay, and this is 45% of that, and their IRR is, for an investment of $275 million, is 8.9. Now, if we think about who gets paid first, the first ones that get paid are, in a sense, the tax equity investors. Their IRR is about 6%. Next one that get paid are the asset rotation investors. They get 8.9% as an IRR. And the equity sponsor winds up with 9.53% because they're sort of lost in the chain of getting paid.